Today, we're looking at an orange ink by Montblanc, Gandhi, and I'm wearing old man tools. As always, there's timestamps down in the description below, so if you want to skip around, you can, but if you got the time, I'd appreciate you checking out the entire video. It does help me out. Now, if you're new here, I'm an ink guy, and if you're not, welcome back. If you like orange inks, I would suggest you take a look down in the description and find the playlist marked orange, because that's where the orange inks are. There are 3 papers used to try and standardize some of the writing samples: Clairfontain, Tomoe River, and Rhodia. Let's start with 90 GSM Clairfontain. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, moments of shading. Like the D to H gets a little bit light. Not really, no shading. Just trying to be nice. Nope. The extra fine is a little bit lighter than the stub. With no feather spread, halo sheen, it does have some shading. Look at quick. The bottom of the Q is much darker than the rest of the Q. It gets lighter, dark into the K. Brown, dark to light. Nice. 5 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen, and yes, it shades. Check out brown, dark to light to dark. Fox, dark to light to dark. Gorgeous. 9 seconds to dry. Now the scrubby for both show us some color variation left to right. We get it in the writing, but if you smear this before it dries, you'll lose it. To make sure there's a range of experience, there's a blonde, brunette, and to make sure there's a range of experience, there's a Jinhao 159 with a 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a medium, and a Jinhao X750 with an extra fine. For additional experiences, a Pelican M205 with a double broad nib was inked up. It was used to take notes for a day and then the notes for this video, and let's just say a Pelican double broad is trying. Now, let's take a look at the second writing sample done on Tomoe River's 52 GSM paper. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, no halo, no sheen, no shade. The extra fine is a tad bit lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no real shading, 10 seconds to dry. The medium is a tad bit darker than the extra fine with no feather spread. It does have some halo. Take a look at the. You see this nice little outlining that's going on. Same with quick in the darker areas. I said no shade. There is some. Look at brown. You see where it's a little bit darker. There's a little bit of halo, and then it gets lighter and the halo goes away. Gorgeous. 19 seconds to dry. Now the scrubby for both shows no color variation, and there is a little bit in the medium, not a ton. Smear says don't smear this before it dries or you lose it all. Now I agree with Vita. There's a lot to be learned by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. A line of ink is put down and it's immediately put in the water for 10 to 15 seconds. And this is purely an orange dye making this ink. There's no mixing whatsoever. You see that it pushes right up very light, getting darker as it gathers at the top. The one on the right is let dry for 10 minutes before it dunks into water. And it looks exactly the same. So we're not expecting any kind of resistance for this, but Montblanc, unless they call their ink permanent, doesn't tend to be permanent. The third writing sample is done on 80 GSM Rhodia dot pad. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, moment of shading, again from the D to H. Not a ton, not with the stub. The extra fine is a slight bit lighter than the stub. With no feather spread, halo sheen, it does offer moments of shading. Look at how brown starts much darker, gets much lighter. Quick gets dark to mid-tone to dark again. The goes from dark to light, so it is definitely there. 6 seconds to dry. Medium is about the same tone as the extra fine. With no feather spread, halo sheen, no real shading, 10 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation, although there is a little bit in the extra fine. The smear still says, don't smear it before it dries or you're going to lose anything important. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to perform on a page and how hard it may be to clean from your pen. The smear is allowed to dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, it handled much better than would be expected. Yes, it did blow out just a little bit, like it spread, and there's a little bit of feathering that's occurring on the lowercase h and that G, but it's still very readable. Shocking, but if you needed to use this because it's the only ink in your pen, I wouldn't use this up. If you have a bottle and don't like it, send it to me. I don't know. No, don't just send me ink. But it handled really well. I would be confident using it in a note-taking situation. Water, as you would expect with a Montblanc ink, does completely remove it from the paper. Now, it's not completely gone yet. That's only 30 seconds after 3 days. And we're starting to see the white of the paper come through. Pen flush, you're not going to need it, but it does about as much as water does. You can't do a whole lot more than remove all of it. 1/3 bleach solution obliterates it. Don't use that to get this out of your pen. Additional writing samples are done on additional paper to give additional experience. It's like a math joke. The first additional paper is TWSBI Notebook. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is the same tone as the stub with no feather, spread, halo sheen, or shade, and 6 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the extra fine with no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade, 10 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both are showing us no real color variation. We didn't expect it. We didn't get it. Smear test still doesn't last. Don't smear this before it's dry. For the inks tested, the average viscosity is 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Montblanc's Gandhi has a viscosity of 2.64, making it just a little bit wetter than average, but still normal. If you're interested in how the viscosity is done and all of that stuff, take a look down in the description. There's a link for that. Our next paper is Leuchtturm 1917 notebooks. I tear those things apart like crazy. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is a little bit lighter than the stub with no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade, 6 seconds to dry. And the medium, darker than the extra fine, a lot. Even darker than the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, moments of shading. You really got to take a look at it. Look at Fox compared to the word the. Certainly lighter. It's so gradual in what's going on. There is some there. It's just not stand out at all. 8 seconds to dry. Now the scrubby for the extra fine shows some color variation, but we're really not getting it. And the medium, far left to far right, and we do get it, but it's there. It's just not really stand out, and still don't smear it before it dries because the smear test says no. To find the average dry times, the writing samples done on Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper are averaged, normalized, and put into a bell curve. For the inks tested, the average dry time is 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Montblanc's Gandhi has an average dry time of 10 seconds, making this a bit faster drying than normal, a faster drying ink. Our last writing sample is done on 28-pound premium copy paper. Now we do get bleeding that occurs in the swabby area. We do see some in the stub, but not any for the extra fine and a medium. No real ghosting. Oops, I said extra fine and medium. Obviously, I was wrong. The medium at the top did bleed, had bleed spots. The medium has no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is the same tone as the medium with no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade, and 1 second to dry. Please don't use this ink on this paper. It's not mine. Do whatever you want, right? The scrubby from far left to far right shows some color variation, but the writing did not, and the smear test says congratulations. If you're writing on this, you can smear it and it's not going anywhere. You can easily read it. Instead of finding inks that look like Montblanc's Gandhi, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. If the complement ink doesn't really suit for you, then take a look down in the description and you're going to see a bunch of playlists listed there by color. Choose one and go. So what do I think of Montblanc's Gandhi? This is a well-behaved and nicely shading ink. It's not bad, but it's far from my choice of an orange to buy a bottle of, though oddly, I would love to have a bottle of it. Look at the shading that is happening with this double broad. So what nib and pen will give the best writing experience with this ink? My biggest problem I was writing on smaller paper. If you're writing on much larger paper like A4, then using a double broad wet pen is perfect. And I really loved how this looked in color and shading from that wet double broad pen. If you don't have something like that, then go with just a wet broad and it's going to be very nice. I hope you got something out of this video, and join us tomorrow when we take a look at J. Herbin's Cherub de Shimmering Brown.